Alright, I thought I would make this real quick video on the mesh road terrain editor. I found out something. If you make a, say you make a, say you make a mesh road, like you got your settings here, and you decide later you want to change the thickness of the road. Select these two nodes, for example. I can't select them. Alright, try again. Select that node, hold down shift and select that node. Well, it's acting stupid. So, but what I was going to say is it won't let you go below 0.25 if you later decide you want to make that node smaller than 0.25. It won't let you go smaller than that once you made it, from what I can see. But if you wanted to make something even smaller width wise, you would just set it here, say like 0.15, and then create it. It'll be thinner. Let's see, 0.1. I don't know how low it, or 0.01. I don't know how low it'll let you go. Like 0.1 is the thinnest you can make something. But I just had made this one real quick. I used a little different technique so that I can like see through the wood, opposed to how like these are individual objects, but like this is just a solid texture here. But rather than have to do all this, I just made a material, which this ain't a high resolution material. I mean, I got this one from textures.com, and the free stuff you get like 15 downloads a day, you get like some, you know, crummy resolution. But you know, all I did was just I right clicked on the image and added an alpha channel, so when I erase something, you know, like this for example, hit erase, that'll be transparent as long as I first change the size to a power of 2, like scale image, and change it to something like a, you know, that, and then I'd export it as a DDS. I put them in my decals folder because that's where, when you put decals down, that's the first place it looks for those. So you would use a BC3 compression since it's transparency. If it's not a transparency, it would be BC1, and if it's a normal map, it'd be BC5. I always tell it to generate bitmaps, but like if it's a normal map, that'd be your normal map. That'd be a BC5. If you didn't have any transparencies and you just had you know, something like this, you know, it'd be a BC1 as far as the compression. But back to this, oh, you'd have to also make a material, and they need to be orientated up down in that manner for decals, or they're going to be sideways when you go to put them on your mesh road. And also when you go to, like, say, change the scaling, instead of it scaling that way, it's going to scale this way, or it'll scale this way, but you're going to be seeing the image flip, you know what I mean. So someone asked, what's the difference like using a mesh road opposed to, you know, just painting on the terrain. And you can paint on the terrain. This is an area that I haven't done much on. I mean, I actually haven't done anything really, but if I want to ride on a mesh road, I can. If I want to ride on the ground, I can. I mean, it's up to you. But here's how I like integrate the terrain tools with the mesh road. In the terrain tools, you have this align up with mesh, and the bridge, of course, is a mesh. It'll bring up the terrain to that mesh. Or if your terrain happens to be above it, which, let me raise it up. You can lower it to the mesh in that manner. I mean, that's like if you got banks and whatnot. I usually don't use like high pressure that high. And I'll like using my mouse wheel here to change this brush size. I'll kind of blend them in, you know, like this. You know, and then I may have to take it down again with this tool. But you don't ever really want to leave like these jaggies. If you hit that, it's like hitting a wall. It'll like rip a wheel off. You want it smooth. Then know what kind of track you're making. Like if you're going through like a mountain pass or something, you know, you probably want it rough to collide with. But say you want to, let's see, let me give you an example of where this might be a use, where you can use the mesh road kind of as a template, but you don't actually intend on using it for the map. It's kind of like a cookie cutter in a way. You know, you don't want to have to sit there, say, and say you wanted to make a hill like this, and you know, the regular way you could make it would be, say, having a terrain like lift up in the hill. And then going back in and paint it something different so it's a little easier to kind of distinguish what I've got going on here. I hate that one. I ain't crazy about that one either. Throw some gravel in there. Rather than have to sit there and, you know, get the bank all to the height that you want, and then worry about all that, you can just instead just bring the ground up to the mesh, and you can raise it above the side so it's not like a drop off. Just align the mesh. Then you pick your mesh and no, Control A, pick them all, or just pick the mesh here without selecting the node and just run it into the ground. And then you got a perfect contour of where the road would be, but instead of using the road, it's actually where the road was. It's a perfect representation. Like, you know, it'd be more difficult to try to sculpt that with the terrain tools than to just use the brush tool with the mesh raise and lower I showed you. And then of course you can paint that. No, hit the wrong thing. You could paint it, you know, if it's going to be like a dirt road or whatever. The thing when you use these things, you can double click them. Now that they finally patched it, like, I don't have a ground model for this one actually, but like, you used to, if you picked a ground model, it would change to the texture that's named that, the way they had it linked. But now you can just pick one of these. You can also make these custom ones if you want. Make some custom ones rather, if you want something different. Like I made my mud where it would make the car sink in farther. But like you'd pick like that one for example. Now this texture will react. I wouldn't say that it'll react to the tires like dusty dirt loose. I ain't gonna spend a whole lot of time like really making that pretty. I just, like, for an example, that's what you can do. Like if you're driving on it now, it'll have that dusty. If I can stay on it. Hitting every damn wrong thing. Just trying to get some speed up and hit. See, now you can see the dust. See, that's that extra sloppy mud I made. That ground model, like I was saying, you can make custom ground models. I actually got a video on there where I show how to do that on one of my videos. But that's how you would do that. You don't have to have the mesh road. I mean, it's just something else you can use. But I find the mesh road easy, like if I want to make bridges. Well, for certain bridges. You know, like this is a mesh road that cuts through here. And then farther on down the track, which I haven't finished much of this. This is kind of all a work in progress. See, like it's going to be gravel here. And I just started working on that. I didn't really texture a whole lot of it yet. Just kind of more or less laying out everything to see what I want to do. Once I finally finalize an idea, I'll start making the textures a little more, you know, a little better. But I found out trying to do too much like that at one time, starting off, you end up just having to redo everything, and it's like, damn, I painted all that for nothing. So I'll probably get most of this finished, and then I'll go back, I'll start doing all that other stuff. Now as far as loops, that's something I've never really quite got down. I tried to make loops. I found it easier to just make a mesh loop in Blender and import it in, but if you try to make a loop, man, I hate that texture. Let me get my mesh road I just had selected. Remember, anytime you modify, like the move mesh road, you know, rebuild that collision, or you'll be running into invisible things or falling off things you shouldn't be. But like this loop, say I want to make a loop. Somebody probably knows how to do it. I get frustrated because it starts twisting all up. I don't know why it's not letting me add on to that. Just now it wants to let me add on to it. That's, tell you that all this stuff happens when you like make a video. It's stupid like that. It's like it knows. It's like it knows I'm gonna screw with this video. That's another reason why I don't edit. I refuse to sit there and go through 1,000 different, make it think 1,000 different things, and it just acts stupid each time. And I'm just hitting Alt to insert one. Sometimes you'll try to insert one and it'll decide, oh, hey, let me grab this piece from way over here and stick it over there. It'll like won't let you insert a new one in there. But sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. It just depends on what mood it's in. It's quite a challenge. Move it too much the wrong way and it so really the way these are splines, the way they work, you move one, it's going to affect what's on the other side of each node. So I'll try to make something like this. I'll stick a different texture on the bottom to help me see the difference between the two. I know which side I'm looking at. This actually isn't giving me that much trouble. Not like I've had in the past trying to make one of these things. And delete these. Clicking one and holding down shift to drag it up, drag a new one up. Why is that all twisting? It's aggravating. It's twisting up down here too. It's still frustrating. It seems a little easier. Maybe they did something when they patched it, made it a little easier to. I remember seeing something about the patch notes about mesh road in one of the other updates. I'm not going to spend all night on this. You might can make one. The next thing is with a car, make it around it. I can tell you no way it's going to make it around that. Increase the amount of the brake angle is what I couldn't remember earlier. You can drop that down to about 0.25, and then you can add more width subdivisions to give it more resolution as far as polygons. You don't see the width subdivisions unless you go to wireframe mode, but they are putting in, there's more of them in there, which makes the road a lot smoother. It also slows the computer down considerably. If you got a big road and it's got like a brake angle that's small and a lot of width subdivisions. Oh. Yeah. Well, that's more success I've had than any other time making one. But yeah, that's really all I can think. Like as far as like the difference between the two. I mean, you know, you just kind of pick what works for you, what you need the mesh road for, or what you need uh, just the ground for. I mean, you can just with the ground pick like a terrain texture that's like a road. This is the one I made. I actually like this one. And stick a decal on it. You don't need one that wide, but select them all and say width 0.5. Then I'll make this, let's see if I got these in here. I have the center line. Stick one over on the side for the side of the road. I don't know if I got all the ones that I need. I didn't copy many of these over. like the yellow line, or the edge of the road. I don't think I have that either in here. Or you blend the, like this in the dirt. Should stop going over there. Yeah, I don't have the edge, any of the edges in here. But, you would just decal the sides to blend in with the side, whatever. If it's like a dirt road or something. Like I think that how one of the dummy books out there, I think maybe volume 2 is the one on the decals. It shows more about how to do the decals and whatnot. I didn't plan on using any of the decals for like the edge of roads. I planned on doing all gravel, so I didn't even think about putting them over in here. I mean, I did make it a grass decal. I think a grass heel, which I really wasn't happy with how it turned out. Think about decals, you put one on top of the other, and then you start running into, issues. Control D, make a copy. You can also go over the road with another decal. Pick like one of the damaged ones, like damaged asphalt or something. I don't know, I think it was road, like one of the road variations. Asphalt road variation. Yeah, I mean, you can't even really see what the hell that's doing, but yeah, they got some other ones like cracked, different cracks and whatnot, potholes and different things. Good thing about if you're using a terrain, it's quite easy like to make potholes where you can't make potholes that are 3D objects on like a mesh road, other than a sticker. The advantage with like doing a texture for the ground, you can add deformation to it so that it actually is like a pothole, or that you actually run into. That should be probably the first thing that I said. That's like one of the advantages to doing that, or making like a speed bump or something. Comes to mind for people that like you can do more 3D stuff to a road to give it more characteristics than you can a mesh road. I personally think mesh roads are more really for bridges than anything else. Like, I mean, if you got a few textures, you want to do a few things in there. I mean, I don't have a whole lot as far as for roads. I got a lot of gravel. That don't really look right, but if you have a few different textures, you would be creative and come up with something that looks more like a real pothole. I haven't really, I haven't really looked at many of them. Know what different ones look like. It hadn't been something I got into, doing potholes and stuff. I had to have like I'd have to have if I did something like this, I'd have to have about 5 different street textures that uh, or for different variations of different things, like, you know, a damaged spot, or um, uh, where it's going to blend into the side of the road. So that's the good thing about doing that. Also, your decals are your AI. Like, if you want your AI to drive like the traffic, you need tell it be like click only AI road. Pick the width that you want the thing to be. Hold down Alt, put your node down, and ideally you can like Control A, hit them both. You want it about the width of the road. The road's going to be, and this is where here your traffic's going to see this is going to say, oh, drivability. Yes, 1, not -1. 1 means yes, whether it's right lanes or left lanes, one way. Um, and you know, you could just say invisible, road invisible, and then in your AI, or actually in your game, save it. In the game, where's my AI tab? Oh, I forgot I made a screenshot. I took all my UI elements out. Is it traffic? What I'm looking for? See if one spawns on there. It spawned somewhere. There. There, mesh road under there. Should have spawned on that. Like reset the computer that messes up. You reboot the game and you'd be surprised what works. Yeah, there they go. Bunch of dumbasses, ain't they? Not the smartest cookies, huh? I guess I could have made them something better to drive on. The Hell Highway is what that is. The Apocalypse Highway. But yeah, that's how you would do the traffic if you decide to get into that. You just basically, in your editor, decal, and you just only AI road, and wherever you make a decal, uh, and you know, tell it drivability 1, and apparently after you save the game and reload it, it'll work fine, but not until then. You don't have to actually have a mesh road for the traffic to work, is my point. I was just going to put invisible, but man, what in the hell? That's why I made this tunnel, so that I could put a mesh road, or I'm not a mesh road, a decal through it, which should take it's going to take some adjusting to get it to get through there, but it made it through there. Before having a tunnel, oh, it's doing this because it's not sticking on the damn mesh for some reason. Decals don't stick on the mesh. I'm sorry, they don't stick on mesh roads. They only stick on ground terrain. And the ground terrain in this case is here. See, it's conforming fine to the ground underneath the mesh road. If it was smooth, which it could be, if I just like I said a minute ago, take this and say align the mesh, which now so it's aligning to that mesh, it's not aligning to the mesh road. This is a model, so I'll just have to select the model, either move it out of the way or tell it to be invisible. Alright, see, that would be how you would do that. Bring the mesh road up. I mean the ground up to the mesh road, and then tell the mesh road to adios. And now your decal will decal will form on it correctly. Ain't them damn 15 cars is screwing with me. They don't seem to know what they're doing down there. I'm not going to fool with lining all that up, but now your AI will go through there. The other way they do it, when they do tunnels and stuff, I haven't been able to get the AI roads to go through, which they'll make a tunnel, they'll use this clear terrain, and they'll basically erase the chunks of terrain, and then they'll stick a mesh in there. But what I find is if you try to make a decal AI road and go through it, it'll go over the top just like that. It will not go through it, because really that's not really taking and deleting anything. It's using a texture called void, which does not render anything, is what I read. So that was my solution why I made that tunnel. Which I know this is I went over more than I was going to go over, and of course something goes wrong in every video, so it wouldn't be the same if it didn't. So with that, that's going to be all for this one. And that'll be a hell no. We'll not save it.